Well, thank you all for coming to the first ever lodging tax workshop. My name's Sadie Siglin. I'm the lodging tax staff liaison from the city of Lacey. And tonight I have guests with me from Olympia, Tumwater, and Thurston County, and I will have them introduce themselves. And then we are going to do a workshop overview on what lodging tax is and some tips and information for you all to know how to apply for lodging tax funding.
Thanks. My name is Amelia Layton. I'm the program specialist and LTAC liaison for the city of Olympia.
Brittany McClanahan, executive assistant for the city of Tumwater. I'm new to my role, so bear with me, as I might not have all the answers to your questions. I'll get them.
Jenica Machado, economic development manager with Thurston County and LTAC staff liaison.
Excellent. Well, we are going to get started. We have a few things to go over today, and then I'm going to ask if you have any questions to try to save them to the end, because some questions may be specific for each jurisdiction. So as you saw, we have someone from each jurisdiction here. In the event you have a question specific to their application process. So we're going to go over what lodging tax is, who can use lodging tax funding, how recipients are selected, how to apply for the funding and resources that we have available, and then questions at the end. So what is lodging tax? Lodging tax is a tax that municipalities actually can choose to collect. So not every city collects lodging tax, and not every city collects lodging tax at the same rate. So they can collect 2 to 4% on eligible lodging stays, which count for things like hotel stays, camping stays, any sort of motels or short-term rentals under 30 days. So again, that's just going to vary depending on which city you're in. The Washington State Legislature imposes all of the laws and rules around this, and then the cities have to implement it through their Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. So it's not actually something that the cities get to decide how the funding is used and what requirements may come out of. So here we can see, and I won't read this all to you, if a city is over 5,000 in population, they have to have a lodging tax advisory committee, and that committee is tasked with the decision to make budget recommendations to the city council on how and who to award funding to. So if you're applying for lodging tax in a city, you will have to go through the lodging tax advisory committee, assuming the city is over 5,000 in population. So lodging tax, again, is imposed on stays in hotels, motels, campgrounds, RV parks, and facilities, levied by the cities, and then the Department of Revenue actually gives that tax collection back to the cities. So visitors come, they travel, they visit your city, they stay overnight in your hotels, motels, lodging, they pay for their stay, and as part of that stay, the tax is collected. That tax is then turned back around to the cities to use to promote tourism in their community through the guidance of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee and approved through your city budget. And then that money is used to host events, festivals, used for marketing to attract more visitors, which then brings more people back to do it all over again. Who can use lodging tax funding? There are rules implemented on what lodging tax funding can be used for, and that is for tourism marketing, marketing and the operations of special events and festivals, operations of capital expenditures and tourism-related facilities, and the same tourism-related facilities that are owned and operated by eligible nonprofit organizations. There aren't a lot of restrictions around what they can use once they qualify as one of those. So if you are a special event, as it says, you can use it for marketing, you can use it for operations, whether that's doing print advertisements for your event, whether that's actually buying items and materials, renting a stage, having an MC. There are a lot of ways that that funding can be used once you are eligible. So tourism marketing can look like digital marketing, print advertising, event analytics regarding events and how your performance at your event actually was once it happened, using funding for things like visitor centers, Events and festivals, we have a lot of those in the entire Thurston County area. Community fairs, festivals, sporting events and tournaments also qualify. Sports generate a lot of tourism. They bring a lot of people from out of town to stay for tournaments. So sporting events and tournaments are ones, and music festivals. There are lots of tourism-related facilities, both publicly owned and privately owned. So things like museums, theaters, sporting venues that are not for professional sports organizations, and things, again, like visitor center bureaus. There are some definitions for these if you're interested in what constitutes as tourism. Tourism is anything with economic activity from tourists. The goal for tourism through lodging tax is really to attract tourists from 50 miles or greater. That is what the legislation has deemed. 50 miles or greater really brings people and has the most likelihood of people staying overnight. And that's how you kind of generate that cycle of collecting tax. So there are also definitions for tourism promotion, which are designed to increase tourism, and then some more specific information about tourism-related facilities, especially if you're looking at something that is temporary versus permanent. Most of these facilities always have to have a life of over 3 years, so something to keep in mind for that. And then I will give this over to Amelia to talk about the funding process.
Awesome. Thank you, Sadie. So just to hear another voice in the room. So how are recipients selected? We'll go through. Each municipality has a similar but different funding process. So just to keep in mind that we all are on slightly different application cycles. They're very similar, and we'll have a slide for that later. They have unique deadline due dates, and they all require some similar documentation that we'll talk about too. Once the applications are received, the lodging tax committees of the varying municipalities will review, and then they make budget recommendations that go through council. And so every municipality has a slightly different process for that. I know in Olympia, we have to go to finance and then to council, and then it becomes part of the city's annual budget. And then we are ready to contract with y'all for those lodging tax funded projects. So how to prepare for applying for funding. So many of you are old hands at this and you know how to do this, but check with each municipality for application due dates. Make sure you hit those deadlines. You don't want to miss out on this funding because you missed a deadline. Every municipality has a different application process and items that they might need. But overall, we all need your business tax identifier number. You're going to need insurance, whether you need it in your application or with your contract. Might differ from city to city. You need to know about your event. What are you doing? Has it changed since last year? What are the updates? What's going on? Marketing examples are going to really help you have a strong application. Your budget is key. And then your estimated attendance. So many of us will ask for, if you've been previously funded, what was your last year's attendance? But then also, what is your projected attendance this year? Yeah, so the requirements are that you are trying to get heads in beds, so that cyclical screen that we saw there, away from their place of residence, staying overnight in paid accommodations. We want to know how many people you're anticipating paying for lodging. We're also going to ask how many people aren't paying for lodging but staying overnight. And then 50 miles or more away from their place of residence is a number that we track, as you know. And then people from another country or state. So that just automatically means they're going to be tourists if they're from another country or state. Things to know that often come as a shock sometimes. These are reimbursement-based contracts. So your organization or your program has to be able to upfront the costs of some of these, and then we will pay you back. You need to keep your receipts, and we all require proof of payment with that as well. There's no guaranteed funds, so we hope you don't rely on these too heavily. You might get a big amount one year, and you might get less the next year. It all depends on how much lodging tax our municipalities are collecting the year previously and the current upcoming year, and how many people are applying. We've seen some, at Olympia at least, we've seen a lot more applications over the years, so it's becoming more competitive. So something to think about. Yeah, funding awards may change. You are required that end of year report every year, and that's the attendance. And many of you have already done this. That's because we all, as staff and cities and municipalities, have to report to JLARC, which is the broader Washington State thing. So the specific questions we're asking you about tourism are because we're reporting on those to the state. That's what we said. So who's staying overnight? Who's coming from 50 miles away? Who's paying for lodging tax? And who's coming from another country or state? We have some resources. So here's that handy timeline of sort of our funding application cycle. Olympia is starting early, as our budget process is starting a little earlier this year as well. And we do hope that you can copy and paste some of your answers into all of our applications. That's why we're coming together, is to try to streamline some of this for you all as much as we can. And then marketing. So municipalities announce our annual award recipients, and then in previous funding cycles, Experience Olympia and Beyond has been a great partner, and part of their application has been supporting other lodging tax funded organizations and projects. So this is sort of an example of some things that they can help you with, but listings on Experience Olympia and experienceolympia.com. There's so many words. Social media mentions, Facebook, Instagram, featured in partner e-newsletters, featured in visitor e-newsletters, and then geofencing upon request. And we were actually just talking about the benefit of using this tool and how quickly a mention could get you to a broader audience with Experience Olympia. So take advantage of this when it becomes available, please. And then here is just our websites where you can reach us. Feel free to take a picture of that. All of us, staff, are here to help support you. I know, speaking for myself, I'll speak for Olympia. I won't speak for everyone else. I'm here to help you. I don't score applications, so I can help you with your application, and then hopefully our LTAC committee will see the value in what you're doing. And then I can help you with all sorts of stuff, like the budget worksheets and stuff like that.